we are going to continue where we left off. We were having some issues with our tests not passing, even though it feels like they should have passed. So here's the problem. It's saying that it expected to have this function be called, the find user by email, but it's not calling. I did some different Googling, and something that worked when I was kind of trying to debug and figure out was to use a try catch block instead of using this statement like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to comment all of these tests out like this, and I'm going to rewrite them in a different style, and I'm hoping that that is going to be helpful. All right, so we are going to do a try catch block. So what we're going to do is we're going to try await service.sign up, and then we're going to pass in the sign up DTO. I think something accidentally got imported up here, so let me go. Yep. Nope. All right, and then we are going to add our catch. So do catch error, our catch block. So what we expect to happen is we expect for there to be an error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that I expect my error message to be email already exists. All right, now I'm going to rerun the test. Perfect. So it should throw an error that an email already exists, and we are in fact throwing an error, right? The email already exists. If we need some proof, then we can go ahead and console log error, and then do error.message. I'm sorry, I'm eating M&Ms while I'm doing this, which is probably gross, so I apologize. All right, error, and then the message is email already exists. Perfect. Okay, so that's helpful, but this worked as well. So now let's go ahead, and I'm going to comment these back in, and then I'm going to take them, I'm going to add them to the end here. I'm going to clear my console, and I'm going to run the tests again, and you can see that now they pass. I need to do more research into why the try catch block is working and this way didn't work. But for now, I'm just pleased that we have a working system that we can use and we can keep on keeping on. I'm going to go ahead and minimize these tests so we can figure out where we're going next. All right, it's kind of cool though. We are writing a lot of tests today. All right. So those are kind of our two ways that we are testing the sign up, right? So we're signing, the three ways, right? The first way is that email and username are unique. The next is that username already exists. And the next is that email already exists, okay? And we've tested all of those options. So now we can go ahead and verify our password. All right. So in order to do this, we are going to be mocking, once again, the bcrypt. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this. Now this is bcrypt hash, where we're going to be using bcrypt compare. Okay, but it pretty much is going to work the same way. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look up bcrypt compare so I can understand what bcrypt compare does. I believe it returns true or false, but let's go ahead and look. I'm gonna look for compare. Yep, so it returns true or false. Okay. So now we can go ahead and give it a try in our test. So it verify password. All right, and what should it do? Should return true if entered password matches existing password. Then we're going to say existing hashed password. Okay, so then we are going to do async. All right, and we are going to go ahead and say const entered password. And we're going to say plain text password. Okay, and then we're going to say const existing password is going to be hashed, let's say matching hashed password. And we're going to paste in our bcrypt, but instead of using bcrypt hash, we are going to be using bcrypt compare, and we're going to mock the return value. So we're going to mock the resolved value, and the resolved value is going to be true. Okay, and then let me go ahead and paste that again because we got rid of a line on accident. All right, so then we're going to say bcrypt compare as just mock is equal to bcrypt compare. Okay, so then now what we can do is we can say const result is equal to await service dot verify password, and then we're going to pass in our entered password and our existing password, and we expect our result to equal true. All right, so let's go ahead and run our test and see what happens. Boop, boop. And that is in fact true. All right, so let's go ahead and copy this and let's do the other. So should return false if entered password does not match existing hashed password. So we're to say plain text password and then not matching hashed password, and we're going to say that this is going to be false, and then we expect this to be false. All right, let's run this. Perfect. So now that we ran that, we can go ahead and say that we expect bcrypt compare to have been called, and we expect bcrypt compare to have been called with an entered password and existing password. All right, let's go ahead and run the test to see if that still passes, and it does. So then we can copy these two expect statements into the other test. And then let's go ahead and rerun to make sure that we're good. And it looks like we are. All right, so that was mocking the bcrypt compare, because once again, bcrypt compare has been tested by bcrypt. We know that it works. We don't need to test that method ourselves. We just need to make sure that the arguments that we're passing in are being passed into bcrypt compare and then are being used by it, and that we're returning the correct value. Okay. All right, the next one we are going to look at is our login. All right, so let's go ahead and start that. And honestly, it seems like it's going to be pretty similar to our sign up, so hopefully that makes it pretty fast. Okay, so we're going to say log in. All right, so there's going to be a few different cases here. The first is that we find the username and the passwords match, so we return an access token. Okay, so it says should return access token if user exists and passwords match. Okay. All right, so now let's start figuring this out. So we're gonna have const login DTO. All right, and this is going to be as login DTO. So we should have a username. Let's do cstoscup. And then we should have a password, which let's do fake password. All right, so that is going to be what's going into the account, into the function. The first thing that we're going to do then is we're going to go look at this find user by username. So what we need to do then is we need to mock that. So we're going to say user service dot find user by username dot mock resolved value is going to be user. So let's go ahead and grab the user that we have up here. All right. So basically that's what's going to be mocking here. We're going to pass in the username cstoscup, and then we're going to get a user out of it, which is going to be this, okay? So then we don't need to worry about this section of the code because there is a user. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do this verify password, okay? And in order to verify the password, we need to add our bcrypt compare mocking. So let's add that next, okay? So the mocking is going to return true though, because our passwords are going to match. So we're going to skip this line here, and then we are going to create an access token. So let's go look at create access token and see what's being called in there. So that's going to be the JWT service. So let's fly up here and let's take a look at how we're mocking that. So we have token, fake JWT, and then, all right. So now we can actually say const result is going to be equal to await service dot log in, and we will log in with our sign, our log in DTO. We expect our result to equal token. All right, let's run the test. Nice, and we passed, okay? So what else do we expect in this then? We expect that users service dot find username by username to have been called, and we expect users service dot find user by username to have been called with the login DTO dot username. All right, let's go ahead and run our test again to make sure that we still pass, and we do. Okay, so then we expect bcrypt compare to have been called, and we expect bcrypt compare to have been called with, so it's going to be the entered password, which would be login DTO dot password, and then user dot password. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. Perfect. And then we have JWT service that we expect to be called to. So JWT service dot sign async to have been called, and we expect JWT service dot sign async to have been called with, we didn't pass in a secret, so it's just going to be the payload. So that will be sub is user.id. Let's rerun these tests. Beautiful. All right, so that is our first use case of login. Our next use case of login is if the passwords don't match, okay? All right, so login should throw unauthorized error if users exist and passwords do not match. Okay, so I'm going to say incorrect password. Okay, so the user does exist, but we are going to, when the passwords get compared, it's going to come back false. All right, and then we are going to not have a token, and we won't have a result equal either. So let's try now to do our try block. So await service dot login, and we're going to pass in the login DTO. Okay. Then we're going to have a catch block, and we expect the error dot message to equal incorrect password. So then I'm going to take all of these tests and cut them, save, and I'm going to run the test. All right, perfect. So now I'm going to put these tests in here. So we do expect that the find user by username will be called with the login DTO. We expect bcrypt compared, but we expect that these won't be called because we're not going to call the JW, we're not going to create the access token if the things don't match. Okay, so then our third use case for login is going to be should throw, so now we don't even get to passwords match because we're throwing an unauthorized error. So should throw unauthorized error if user does not exist. Okay, so I'm going to do fake user, and we can do fake password. The user is not going to come back, so we are going to mock the result value is going to be undefined. All right, so we won't even do comparing passwords. All right, so let's try to log in. We'll catch an error. The error is going to be username does not exist. And then none of this will be called. All right, let's give this a try and see how it goes. Perfect. All right, so now we have our login function and our verify password function and our sign up function complete. All right, in the next video, we will move on to our next function, which is going to be change account details. See you in the next one.